Hey, how you doing this morning, Dr. Prodigal? It's been a minute. A lot of stuff's been going on, but today I got something I just want to talk to you about. It's called honor, honoring those that went before you. This week, I got to attend supposedly a celebration of life for my aunt Betty. My aunt Betty was a very Pentecostal woman. Didn't understand it at first, but one thing I knew about Aunt Betty, she wasn't changing. What she believed in, she acted upon, and she walked it all the way live. But this is how it came about, and I really don't care if people don't like it, but I'm just going to tell the truth. Aunt Betty was one that she didn't want to be bothered with people that said they were Christian, but they were living another way. That said they were Christian. She may have been a little staunch in some of her beliefs, such as the apostolic dress, and how a woman's supposed to be quiet and not say anything. And she only could go to a specific church denomination. She couldn't go nowhere else. But still, even with all of that, my memories of her were very vivid. Some of them were humorous, and some of them really made me wonder. I'll give you one of the humorous ones. We would go down to Virginia, and we'd get there in the country. My grandfather had chickens, pigs, everything down there. It was a farm. But Aunt Betty would go to the door with the big old tin with some feed in it or something. Yeah, chicken, chicken, chicken. And she'd throw the feed out where the chickens didn't know what was happening. So here they come. They running up to you, and they're thinking, okay, well, you breaking me off. You give me some food. Well, Aunt Betty would drop the pan, but before the pan hit the ground, she would grab up two chickens, one in each hand, and she would pop and shake their heads off. Well, that didn't need to happen but one day. The next day she came to the door with that feed, them chickens broke to the woods, and you didn't see them chickens no more to the end. Then another thought that I had with a memory, my mother and her were pregnant at the same time. Both were boys. Well, my Aunt Betty, she grew up on a farm, so she was a country girl. She was down in what we called a rut. It was nothing but with a whole bunch of tomatoes and stuff that had been thrown down, and each year they would just come back up. All kinds of tomatoes. I don't know what kind they were. They weren't the pretty grocery store ones, but they were good. Well, Aunt Betty was down there picking up the vines and pulling up the tomatoes. She told me, come on over here and help me. And she pulled up one vine, and it was a green snake. I ain't never seen a 9-month pregnant woman haul tail like that. She was going. That my poor cousin, he must have thought he was on a basketball court the way she was running. That belly was bouncing up and down. But now, let's go over to the other memories of her. I don't remember whose funeral it was. I think it may have been my father's funeral, if I'm not mistaken. But Aunt Betty got all my cousins together that was there. All the girl cousins. Made them stand around a circle, and they had the Bible, and she passed that Bible around, and each one of them read a portion of scripture from where she wanted them to read. Now, I was sitting back and watching this. Matter of fact, it was my father's funeral, because I had came home. I had just went back to Fort Bragg that Sunday. It was a Thanksgiving weekend. I went back that Sunday. I was on guard duty the very next day, which I just hated. That evening, they called me and said, you got to pack your stuff. Go back to the barracks. Your father passed away. So it was during that time, and I came right back home. But Aunt Betty had everybody around, and she was reading it. And I was like, She said that she's saved. Didn't know what that meant at the time. I really didn't know too much what it meant at all. But she said that she was saved. And she acted like it. I mean, she just went ahead and she walked it. Oh yeah, you had the regular things, don't drink, don't smoke. But she even took it a little further with, the way she dressed, long dresses and never pants. And I don't ever recall her with any kind of makeup on, but that was their doctrine. But I watched how she did everything. And I secretly just watched her. So here it comes now. It's my turn to talk to God about my own salvation. I remembered that. I remembered it, and I said, okay. Aunt Betty was like this. So I was like, what is really going on here? The couple of times I did talk to her, she never really explained things other than "'tis so." That's what you're supposed to do. That's all it is to it. So I kind of shied away for a bit of the staunch doctrine that you can't talk to nobody. My younger brother went up one time to visit with her. I think my mother sent him up to visit with her for a visit in the summer. So I happened to pop home on leave, and I said, "Mama, where's Kenny?" She said, "Oh, he's up spending some time with Aunt Betty." So I said, "What's her number?" And that was back then when you had to pay for all the long distance and everything. So I called her. I said, "How you doing, Aunt Betty? I'm home. I was wondering, can I speak to Kenny?" She said, "Oh, he already on the bus." I said, "Already on the bus?" Yeah. He said he got the money and Rose told him to come back down. My mother's name was Rosa. So I said, "Okay." I'm thinking like, I said, "Mama, how long Kenny's supposed to be up in New Jersey?" She said to the rest of the week. Well, it was like Monday then. So I called and I found out when the bus was coming in. And lo and behold, my little brother just danced off the bus with his little happy self. And I gripped him up. I said, "Boy, what you doing?" Well, he told me Aunt Betty wouldn't let him watch anything but CNN and the 700 Club. He couldn't talk to the kids on the block because they wasn't saved. And there's a little girl that he liked up there. She told me you better not talk to her and wouldn't let him out the house because her father owned a liquor store. So Kenny always had a little bit of money. He was the youngest. After my father passed, then, my mother was real lax with him. But he had his little money. He bought him a ticket. He came back to Washington. But we laughed about that before my brother passed away. And he said, "If there's nothing else I know, Aunt Betty loves the Lord." And I agreed with him on that. I definitely agree with him on that. Then I can go even further with her children. One daughter had issues. Aunt Betty prayed up out of it. Another son had serious issues, shot in the head. Aunt Betty prayed that man back, and I just got to see him at the funeral. And I was like, wow, Aunt Betty prayed y'all into life. And then the one that was closest to me, he got hit by a train. Messed him up. High as a kite. Probably saved his life. Aunt Betty saved all her prayers up for that man. And when I see him, just as strong as an ox, and if you don't know he was hit by a train, you can't even see it. Very, very, very little. Very, very, very little. And, I just thought about like, wow, this woman prayed all of her kids to life. So again, I kept watching Aunt Betty. I kept watching. And I said, well, I'm not sure about this Jesus only thing, or I can only go to this kind of church and never another one, everybody else going to hell. But one thing I do know, Aunt Betty knows that Bible. And I started reading just a little bit, and I found out something. The more you begin to study what God says, the more you're going to have questions. So what do I say? As being a good teacher, I must answer your question with something that will satisfy you for an answer, will cause you to have 5 more questions. And oftentimes Aunt Betty would do that. Very staunch. But when I went to a homegoing, everyone wasn't celebratory. And I didn't understand that. This woman has been through it all. All. And then when she finally rests, and just to view, I'm not one that want to run up and hold, rubbed on the body and all that and kiss and get up in the casket. No, I just watched it and she seemed like she was so at peace with the same wig on she had. And she had that Bible with her hands over it. That was the most beautiful thing in the world because that was her, that Bible. Now, that was the matriarch of faith for my whole side of my mother's family. And I would tell anyone, if it wasn't for Aunt Betty, I most likely wouldn't be where I am today. Yes, my mother sent me to Sunday school and all that stuff, and even Catholic school. I learned a whole lot of things that I didn't learn in public school. But it was Aunt Betty and her unwavering faith that really, really, really got me to thinking. And today, I had to do this before I go do anything else. I really had to process her transition, or as someone said, her relocation. And as I'm doing that, and I'm remembering just what she used to say, you know, it's all about God now. And I remember a couple of times that we talked, there were some other things in family that came up, and she was one caught up in some mess, and she stood up and said, "It shall not be. This is what it is." I didn't get a chance to spend a lot of time with her, but quality is better than quantity often. But the quality of the time that I spent with her, I wasn't even her focus. I was somebody in the cut watching. So I challenge you all now to celebrate those matriarchs and patriarchs of the family that are responsible for faith. I don't care if it's a little bit of faith or a whole lot. Somebody had to spark that. Did my mother spark it? Not necessarily. Did my father? A little bit, because I saw some things which I outlined in one of the books that really blew my mind. And he did spark it, but who sparked it first? That initial spark was Betty Watson. That was that initial spark. And I never let it go out. From once I went into the military, I was always thinking, I get to Fort Bragg and somebody was going to make me get saved. That ain't what I seen on Betty. And I backed up. But by the time I got to Hawaii, oh yeah, that spark was starting to glow and glow and glow, until finally I just said, okay, I'm not sure what this is, and one day I'll share my testimony of salvation, because it still blows my mind that God loves me that much. So as I close this today, I ask you to look back in your family. It doesn't even have to be your family. It could be your neighbors, your friends, whomever. Look back in it. Look back in your life. Celebrate those ones who have planted the seed of faith in you. Celebrate those ones that, even though it may have been a little odd in your understanding, they stood for what they believed in. And if it was Jesus Christ they believed in, trust me, it has made an impact on you that will blow your mind. So I don't say, well, you know, she looking down on me. No, because if she's in the presence of God, she don't want to see nothing down here. And I'm not going to go to a grave and talk to someone. I'm not going to do anything like that, because I know that I can't talk to the dead, and the dead shouldn't be talking to me. At least that's people think they're talking to the dead. I'm not going to go to the grave and stand there and carry on the conversation with a patch of turf. She's not there. She's not there. But I can speak to everyone out here and say, you all have someone in your life that you must give thanks for, because they started your faith. Aunt Betty was the foundation of everything that I believe and know now. So I want you to think about that. God bless you. It's a wonderful day. It's hotter than fish grease out here today, but that's okay. I'm going to go get my little work done on my temple. I've been telling the Lord I got to make sure that my temple is up to code, because it's been condemned for a minute. So I got to bring this thing back up to code. So I'm going to go do my little exercise and swim and everything else. You all have a wonderful day. But think about the Aunt Bettys in your life. I'll always remember Aunt Betty in mine. God bless you, Dr. Prodigal. Leave me some comments about who in your life has been a blessing to you. Please leave me the comments. I want to see this, because I was really touched. But I was sad that everybody else was sad when they should have been glad. I was glad. I know where she's at. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.